Hello there, I'm Rick, and today I want to talk to you about a wonderful quote. A quote I grew up with called, "The future is already here, just unevenly distributed." I learned that quote from a great book called Neuromancer when I was a kid by its author, William Gibson. I don't remember when I read the book, but it did change my life because suddenly I kind of understood you can do something, you can live inside these computers for some of us that looked like a valid, viable option. And the lesson I learned in that quote is you're ahead of some people. The future is already here, just unevenly distributed. You are ahead on some people, and that is good enough. There's always going to be people ahead of you. There's always going to be someone who's dipped their toe deeper into whatever water you're trying to learn. But you don't need to compete with those. Instead, look back. Look at the people you can help over whatever hurdle you just learned, over whatever thing you just figured out how to do better. Help them on their journey where they want to go. Quite often you're going to realize that you have a higher standard than they. You know you are ahead of the game for a reason. They do not want to go where you want to go. But that's okay. You can take them under your arm and help them go where they want to go with the knowledge you've learned. And once again, you don't have to know it all. It just helps that you're ahead of the game. Quite often, it's such a blessing for the people receiving the help, getting it from someone who gets them, who still remembers how it was to walk in their shoes, instead of persons very far ahead. But also, it's important to remind ourselves that with time and thinking about the future is already here, just unevenly distributed. Sometimes it's really hard to tell them what better looks like because you're not sharing the same time, you're not sharing the same perception of what's possible. You might have, for what you take granted, what you grew up with, what you think, how can it possibly be someone else? For that, it's alien, it's magic. I think it was Asimov, the great author, who said, travel back in time, and what's technology right now that we don't understand is going to be perceived as magic. You don't have to do those leaps very long. I remember growing up thinking it's strange people talking into the thin air until you realized they had a headphone. Headphones were unusual when you were walking around in town. And now it's everywhere. Those kind of changes happens. You see some of them before other people. Do figure out how can you act on that? How can you see this is a trend that I think is going to change so much? And once again, quite often it's not the technology in itself. We're going back on this, the future is already here, just unevenly distributed. I'm a computer geek and I see new processors and new this and that. Quite often, us, the tech people, the nerds, go like, wonder why this didn't happen. And it's all due to soft skills or all due to, yeah, it is better in a vacuum, but the ocean around it isn't ready for it. And you have a better whatever, and then you realize you don't have the supply for it or you don't have whatever it is. So what can you zoom out where you are right now, slightly ahead of the game? Do allow yourself not to look too far into the future and comparing yourself with whoever is the expert or researcher or whatever it is, but where you are and helping those that you are slightly ahead of. What's missing in order for that to catch on? And a great quote I also love on that topic is, humans underestimate what technology is going to change humanity into in the long period, and they overestimate the impact technology is going to have in the short period of time. So with that in your heart and in your mind, what can you, as a future representative to those you care about, help? And well, it doesn't have to be technology. It could be about how a better food, better meditation, better whatever it is. You are ahead of them in time. If they are the one you helped get on their journey, of course, no one, not everyone's gonna care about that you're ahead of them in whatever game you're playing that they're not playing. That's your job to figure out. Are we aligning somewhat, or is this going to be too cumbersome for me to go get you? Or are you not really going where I'm dragging you right now? That's the job. So figure out how to do something with where you are right now. Figure out how to let it go, thinking about this long term that might never happen, and working on making the future you see happen in the short term happen for those you care about. Also, going back to Asimov, and that you might be perceived like magic. The promise you have might look very much like magic for the one you're caring about, because in their time zone, it's not invented yet. So you might trust it, you might have been comfortable with it, you might even see how can it be anything different. But for them, it might be too good to be true. So think about that when you try to persuade them to see how better it looks like from your perspective. And also, once again, be kind and generous to yourself when you're looking ahead, because you're making a future version of yourself happen. It's not there yet. You haven't proved you can do it to the world yet. Add that yet. It makes a huge difference to taking care of ourselves, to being kind and generous to ourselves, because we are fighting to make the future happen. Like Peter Drucker said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. But also, like someone else, smart person said, now is the time to make the future, because the future belongs to no one. There's no guarantees you're going to create the future you want, but today is the time, urgently. You start making it happen. And yes, you're going to find resistance because the future haven't happened yet. You are kind of changing things in order to make it happen. There's resistance there, but it's well worth it. Your future self will thank you. And once again, be kind to yourself. If you look back 5 years, I think I made a cast on that. You didn't know you could have everything you have today. You didn't know you can learn so much that you knew today. So be kind and generous. You don't have to predict and make a long stretch for it, 5, 10, 15 years ahead. Just make a commitment to make today matter for your future self and those in your care in the future. It's worth it. Please, it's really worth it. Right now, make it urgent. And be kind and generous to yourself. Have a good one, my friend. Bye-bye. And I surely wished I had the courage to act on my own advice just 15 years ago. It's not simple, but it is worth it. Do think about it every day and you will transform way more than you think. Take care of us. Bye.